Hello there. Thank you for checking out this edition of R&R's Ask the Expert. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Tim Bauer. He is the Senior Vice President at Allied Restoration Services. They are in the Los Angeles area, and they have a very unique clientele. So that is what we are going to talk about today. So I'm going to toss it right over to Tim and have him tell us a little bit about his background and Allied, and we are going to go from there.
Right on. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be being here. And I love R&R Magazine. I'm so excited to be talking about this. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I got my start in fire restoration after the San Bernardino wildfires that took place in 2003. I actually started off working for a company that was a fire chaser. And so I cut my teeth as a chaser in this business, which was fun and exciting and challenging. Southern California in particular, where I live, is one of the more competitive chaser markets that I found in the country.
Okay.
After a fire, you could have anywhere from 40 to 50 people waiting outside by the time the fire department clears the scene. And so I learned really fast that I had to find a way to separate myself from my competition, because how do you not get looped in when there's just a line of 50 people waiting to talk? There has to be something different, unique, special about you that will make you stand out to your client. And so I worked as a chaser for several years. The company that I worked for actually started as a result of the wildfires. They branched out from another company that they were working with. And because of all that business, they were able to sustain themselves for several years. But wasn't very good at budgeting. The company didn't really know how to run the jobs. And so the more I sold, actually, the less we made as an organization. We were running the jobs unprofitably. I was just the sales guy, right? I didn't realize what was happening until one day I got a phone call and said, hey, FYI, we're out of money. And I thought, oh my gosh, I got to go do something. And so I ended up working with OP Almaraz at another restoration company. And I actually joined them. They were a pro carrier company, largely TPA work. And they were very interested in starting a chasing division. And so they hired me to start that. And we did a little chasing for them, as well as some other things. And OP and I really bonded there and had some great success together until he eventually would leave and start his own company. And so that's Allied Restoration. And so OP was on his own with his brother Victor for several years. For those of you that are familiar with OP's story, his brother tragically and unexpectedly passed when the company was just a few years old. And that's when I resumed working with OP and came aboard at Allied Restoration in 2008, where I serve as a senior vice president, second in charge, and largely in charge of marketing, client relations, and controlling the customer experience. So that's what I do.
Okay. All right. So in your case, the customer experience is very important because your clients are very unique, I think. So I'm curious how you guys zeroed in on this very niche client base that you have. How long ago did you decide that that was your target? And how long did it take to build it to be your reality?
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people are probably wondering, well, what is their client base? Do they do business with, crazy top secret people? So let's talk
Kinda.
about that. So yeah, Allied Restoration was founded in 2008. And I don't know if you guys remember what 2008 was like, right? Like banks were failing, money was becoming scarce. We were getting laid off all over the place. And people just were treating the claims process very differently. And up until that point, I think a lot of us in insurance restoration thought that our industry was recession proof. And you still hear that term used about insurance work. And while it is most certainly insurance recession resistant, we were experiencing some effects. And what was happening is we were having clients that were cashing out on a lot of the high end trades, or worse yet, they were hiring us, having us do the work. And then when we would go to collect the money that they received from the insurance company, it was gone, right? And they went on cruises and they were defaulting on houses. And so we had a real challenge in 2008. And what OP had noticed is that he had gotten a few jobs for some celebrity clients. In fact, one of our early celebrity clients was Nancy O'Dell, who's famous for being on Entertainment Tonight and Access Hollywood. And we got Nancy just through happenstance. It was a random thing, and ended up doing some work for her. And she shot a video for us. And what we experienced in working with her is that we found that high net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals, they weren't as impacted by the recession, right? These were people that could still afford to pay us. And more importantly, they were people that really valued customer service, which was our specialty, right? We weren't We weren't the fastest, right? We weren't the smartest. We weren't the most of a lot of things, but we were really good at serving people. And so when I started with OP a few years after he started, he had this idea, he had this vision that this was the organization that we wanted to focus on. And so as far as zeroing in on that group, one of the first questions we asked ourselves is how do we get to them? Right. And so, like when Nancy Odell has a flood, who does Nancy call? And so we started asking questions like that. Hey, what did you do? Right. When you had a flood, and she's like, I didn't even know if I had homeowners insurance. I have no idea. Right. And so one of the first things we learned is these celebrities, they don't buy insurance like we do, right? Like they don't go on the internet and send in their money, right? They don't even know where their checkbook is. Like if Tom Cruise's business manager, the person that manages all of his finances, like went on vacation, like he probably wouldn't know where his money is, right? He's like a child, right? When it comes to that, right? And so they don't have that same level of responsibility. So we started to focus on who can get us in front of these people. How do we get to them, and how do we really make sure that we're focused on them? And it's just been such an exciting demographic, both dealing with celebrities and high net worth individuals, which in Southern California we have tons of, which has been great.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So without giving away too many trade secrets, how have you been able to grow that customer base over the years? I mean, are you pretty much solely focused on this high net worth clientele at this point, or do you still have some smaller jobs that you're working on? What does that look like?
Yeah. So as we've grown, when I started with Allied, we were maybe $2.5 million, and we've grown now to become like a $15 million restoration company. So not all of that is high net worth sales, but what's really great about being this platinum vendor is that the other people that are doing business with us are middle market and normal customers, people like me, right? I'm not, when I say middle market, I'm talking about myself here. I'm not looking down on that audience at all. When we work with those people, they kind of like getting that platinum feel, right? They actually enjoy it. So I would say about 60% of our work is in high net worth and celebrity individuals. Probably 20% is in middle market, and 20% is now commercial. We're doing a lot of commercial work at this point as well. A lot of our clients, which is great, also own a lot of businesses, right? You typically don't become a millionaire, working a 9 to 5. You own stuff, and you own properties, and you own businesses. So we've outgrown. Now, in terms of growing our high net worth customer base, as the world has gone on, we have deepened our relationships with everybody that they're in touch with. So whereas my center of influence network used to include people like insurance agents and plumbers, now I'm looking at insurance brokers. I'm looking at business managers, the people that manage their affairs. I'm looking at art dealers. I'm looking at art conservators, right? Because this is typically the first person that gets the call is the person that has the most expensive item in the home. And that's oftentimes the artwork for our clients. We work with their realtors. We work with their CPAs. Anybody and everybody is someone that I have in my Rolodex at this point. And I'm a connector of people. I always tell my clients, whatever you need a recommendation on, and I tell my celebrity clients, if you're looking for a new business manager, if you're looking for a new insurance broker, I know all the best people in Southern California. I can connect you with them. And by deepening those relationships with the network surrounding our ideal customer, we've really been able to penetrate that market in a new and exciting way. And I'll add, by the way, I don't mind sharing industry secrets, right? Because the reality is, if just telling you what to do could take my business, it's only a matter of time, right? I don't have the monopoly on good ideas or intelligence or hard work, right? Everybody in this industry can work hard. Everybody in this industry is smart. So I don't mind sharing things like that because I know that I have things that maybe they can't bring to the table. I've got X factors that I can, achieve and do.
Perfect. I love it. Okay. So, what have been some of the big benefits for Allied since you were able to really identify this niche target market?
Yeah. So, if you think about most emails that you get, they tend to be very generic, right? If you think about a company like Amazon, right, might send out a mailing list to 8,000, customers. How personalized can it really be? And over the years, technology has gotten better to be able to personalize emails blasts, especially with billionaire retail giants that can afford all kinds of AI and that type of thing. But for most of us, like when a restoration company wants to send out an email blast to their centers of influence that could refer work into them, it tends to be pretty generic because they're talking to such a wide and varied group of people. So by identifying our ideal customer, we can speak a specific language, right? It means that I no longer have to send out my emails and my marketing in middle marketese and high net worthies, right? I can speak directly to the concerns of my ideal client. In addition to that, when training my actual in-house personnel, I can help them identify and focus on the core needs of my customer who I really understand. And in fact, anytime we go to target a new base of our customers, we actually have a 15-page little profile that we fill out about them. And we ask ourselves questions like, where do they shop? What do they like? Do they have kids? What other brands do they frequent, right? We found out, for example, a lot of our customers, they stay at the Ritz-Carlton. We were seeing that over and over and over. So what we did as an organization, we said, okay, let's go to the Ritz-Carlton and let's find out, what does the Ritz-Carlton do to train its people? Because if that's the buying experience that my customers are used to, then I learned about that, right? I've spent probably 20 hours watching documentaries about Rolls-Royce. That's a weird thing for restoration people to do, but that's business research for me, right? And what I learned is, I don't know if you know this. Do you know, Michelle, that when people buy a Rolls-Royce, they pick the color and it's their color. Like they own the license to the
No.
color of their vehicle, right? And if you want a Rolls-Royce in my Rolls-Royce's color, which by the way, my Rolls-Royce is a Hot Wheel, it's little, right? But if you want one in my color, right, you have to pay me to license my color. Now, there's millions of color choices, obviously, we can pick from, little deviations, but that level of customization helps us understand what our customer wants. They want an individualized and personalized customer service experience. That's all them. When they go to the Ritz-Carlton knows what kind of drinks they like, and they fill the fridge with those drinks. They keep a profile on every single one of their guests that stays with them, and they track their desires. They track what they like. They go through your trash, right? This is a little creepy, but they actually look to see what you end up throwing away, and then they know, and they put in their thing, hey, Tim Bauer, he really likes Diet Pepsi. Like that's his drink. And then when I come stay there the next day, or the next time I go to stay there with my wife, maybe they have Diet Pepsi waiting for me when I arrive. That's the kind of personalized experience. So really understanding our ideal customer lets us personalize, customize, and really focus our training in a special and unique way.
Okay. All right. So I'm a little curious. This is tweaking our questions a little bit here, but I'm curious about
Yeah.
your technicians and training your technicians, because this is a whole different kind of customer service here. Like restoration companies are pretty good at customer service in general if they're a good restoration company, but this is above and beyond. So how do you, one, get technicians in the first place, and two, train them to deliver this kind of customer service?
That's a great question. Yeah. So when it comes to our technicians, in particular, lead technicians that are going to do a majority of the talking, we actually spend weeks role playing with these people, teaching them the right type of verbiage and language to share. We teach them how to educate the client, because our clients, they're very mistrusting, right? Because they get taken advantage of. You could imagine if you show up to a $50 million property in Rodeo Drive and you're going to price something, you think to yourself, well, I don't have to go cheap here. They've got money. They can afford my services,
Yeah.
right? And so you typically don't skimp. So we have to teach our people to train what they're doing, to explain it, and to do it in such a way that this customer wants to hear it. And so we role play the heck out of them. Then we focus on little things. We teach them things that we learned at the Ritz-Carlton. So for example, one of the first trainings that every lead technician will receive is that when you're talking to a customer, mentally, you point your big toe at the client, both big toes. You're focused on them, your phone stays in your pocket. We
Yes.
teach them that before they take out their phone to take pictures of the lost site, which, we're still required to do, but in our case, it's a very sensitive situation. Like, we've never done business with him, so I can share this, but Justin Bieber famously has a non-disclosure agreement that says that if you take pictures and post them of his house, you owe him $1 million, right? And so our technicians have learned over time now, they have to, before they ever take a picture, am I okay to photograph this? And is there anything in your house you want to make sure that I don't take any pictures of, that's private and can't see the light of day? We advise them that we have non-disclosure agreements when we show up. So every technician, when they join our company, has a blank NDA that they have signed that we can input the address of the project on in advance of them arriving. When we tell, like, if I receive a call, like let's say, Tom Cruise again, who I've never done business with, so I can name drop him. And I'm sorry for all this name dropping, by the way. My good friend, Paul McCartney told me never to name drop, but I still do it sometimes. So if we show up at Tom Cruise's house and we have NDAs in hand, he's like, okay, these are my people, right? They're used to working in this kind of environment. They understand it. We learned that because one of my early meetings with an insurance broker, he told me a story. He said, look, I called out one of the big franchises. They showed up. They sent in an estimate for their mold job. And inside of their pictures, they had taken a picture of the celebrity client, one of their photographs with the president of the United States at that time included it. And there was no reason for that picture to be taken a picture of. It wasn't involved in the loss at all. And they were dumb enough to include it in the actual estimate, right? That's a major fear for these celebrities. They don't trust anybody coming into their house, right? They're scared. Everywhere they go, there's cell phones on them, there's pictures being taken of them. They want to make sure that they have privacy in their own home because this is the only place they really get to be themselves. So really, all of those items are things that we have to train on overtly and specifically to make sure that we don't have any rapport disconnections with our client. We also, shoe covers are a big deal. We have embroidered shoe covers. We make a big deal out of our shoe covers, and they have like Allied logos. They're really cool looking shoe covers, and it's a little thing that says, hey, we really care, right? When we show up, oftentimes it's great because we'll show up and the adjuster will arrive and he or she will come out and they don't have shoe covers. And it's like there's a disconnect and they bring out a vendor maybe for a competitive bid, and that competitive bid they don't have shoe covers. And that one little difference, I can't tell you how many videos we have of our customers sharing their experiences where they are mentioning those shoe covers. It's such a dumb little thing, but it says it says how we feel about their home and how we feel about them when we show up with that. So that's a really long-winded answer, but we train a lot too. And I will say we probably spend, to this day, we spend 30 minutes every single morning in a training with our production team every single day. We spend 2 hours every Wednesday with our entire staff doing more training. Our organization is probably invests more money in training than any other restoration company I'm aware of. Even some of the bigger organizations, we go crazy on training. We hold a biannual events where we pull people out of the field for 48 hours and we just invest in them. We run boot camps with our staff. They are way overly trained to the point where they're like, please stop training me and get me into the field.
Good problem to have. It's a very good problem
Yes.
to have.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about NDAs. So without disclosing too much, I suppose, can you tell us a fun story or share a fun project, something like that?
Yeah. So we've had so many fun projects that I could talk
I'm
about. I
sure.
wish I wish some of them weren't covered by NDA, but I'll tell you, in terms of some of the things we have to keep in mind to give you an idea. We were actually called out to a house, and I can share this. That was where they filmed the television show Beverly Hillbillies.
Okay.
And this house is so opulent, way over the top. In fact, this house famously, a man built and designed this house for his wife, surprised her. She showed up and said, no, this is too much. It's over the top. Sell this thing. And that's why it got used in the taping. And so the
Oh,
gentleman that owned this house, he's since passed away. His name is Gerald Parencio. He's a multi-billionaire, very wealthy man. He had a $500 million art collection, largely in this home, $500 million worth of art. And so we did a mold remediation project. And in the corner of his dining room was the affected area. And this dining room, if you could imagine, had this wood paneling that was made of mahogany that had musical instruments carved into it. And they were 3D coming out of the wood paneling. It was gorgeous. This was a beautiful formal dining room. And in this formal dining room was this huge, large, dark wood, beautiful table. And as I'm being walked through, the head of security, and that's something interesting too, is there's heads of security, multiple people with guns on this property. As you could imagine,
yeah.
he's got a more expensive art collection than a lot of museums, just present there. So, this armed security is taking me through, and he says, look, when you're doing work in here, I need you to make sure not to put any tools on the dining room table. And I responded to him, of course, we would never, ever in a million years, even if I was in a house in Rancho Cucamonga in a tract home, like I would never put my tools on someone's dining room table, even my mother, like I would never, right? And he says, okay, I just need to make sure that you're really careful around this table. I said, I promise you this table's in good hands. He says, you need to understand about this table. And I've learned that you don't ask a lot of questions, but it was clear to me in this moment that this guy wanted to tell me
Yeah.
about this table.
Yeah.
And I said, "So tell me about the table." He says, "Well, this is custom." He said, "When Mr. Parentio bought this table, he had those little risers added onto the legs." And I looked, the table had been raised. It obviously had been very short. He says, "Look, the former owner of this table was really short." So, okay, that's interesting. He says, because the former owner of this table was Napoleon Bonaparte. This was his formal dining room table. And I thought to myself, what in God's name is it doing here? Get it out of here. There's mold 3 feet away from Napoleon's table. I could imagine the ghost of Napoleon coming back and chopping off my head for allowing mold to get on his table, right? So these are the kinds of things we never know when we're around Napoleon Bonaparte's dining room table, right? Like that's the type of things that we're encountering. We've signed non-disclosure agreements, Michelle, that said that we're not allowed to look a celebrity in the eye, right? There's all kinds of pitfalls and traps to the point that every single time we do one of these jobs, we have to have a debrief meeting with our staff to advise them on special things they need to keep in mind on this project, right? We've had insured clients where they really don't want us to ever use their name, right? We had one that just referred to herself as Mrs. Homeowner, right? And she never wanted them to speak her name, as if we didn't know who she, like this was a supermodel. Like every
Yeah.
probably half of my technicians had posters of her as a child on their wall. They know exactly who she is, but we're not allowed to say her name, right? And that's the type of stuff that we deal with every single day, and we love that, honestly. And we've dealt with so many kind people. Our raving fan testimonials that we have videos of include Nancy O'Dell, who we've mentioned. We did work for the Rovens, who own Atlas Entertainment, that produced all of the recent DC films, the Batman trilogy, all of those, and a lot of others. Even some quote unquote B-list celebrities, like the guy that, if you remember the double dip episode of Seinfeld, where the guy yells at George for double dipping his chip, we've got him as a raving fan testimonial. We've got a lot of fun little clients like that, but I can say that. I've actually restored properties for members of the United States cabinet. And I wish I could name drop that individual, but a very, very, very high ranking member of the US cabinet. I've done senators, I've done Congress people, we've done, all of the Emmy, Grammy, Oscar. I've been in houses with dozens of awards. After we get off the call, I'm actually going to a house of a guy that has 17 Emmys. That's where I'm going after this call. This is always an exciting thing, and we love doing that. But most of these people are just kind-hearted individuals. I can say, Larry King is one project that we also did, and Larry has since passed away, so we can talk about this a little bit. What's really fascinating is that I learned a lot dealing with Larry King, because the room of his home that was impacted was his man cave for all intents and purposes. He never called it that, but that's basically what it was. And Larry is a big Dodger fan because he has great taste in baseball. And so this was the place where Larry would watch every away game. He'd go to every home game and watch every away game. Now, for me or for you, Michelle, I think you're a Red Wings fan, right?
I am. We won't talk about
So
how they're doing, but yeah.
yeah, well, neither. Yeah, trust me, I'm a Ducks fan. We're not going to talk about how we're doing either. So what happens is, if you or I, like, we lost our place where we watched the game, we could go to a bar in our well, not right now, but under normal circumstances, we could go to a bar in our sweatpants and hang out, and nobody cares, right? But for Larry, this is literally the only place where, like, not to be, like coarse here, but he can sit there with his sweatpants, his hand in his pants, like Al Bundy, with a beer or whatever else he wants, and
Yeah.
just be himself. It's the only place in the world where his pictures won't end up on TMZ.
Yeah.
And so when they lose these spaces that we're being invited to, we realize how really important they are. And then, I remember I had a conversation with someone after the wildfires in Bel Air that told me, well, big deal. These people, they've got millions of dollars. What real problems do they have, right? But the reality is these are big problems for these celebrities. It's the only place where they get to be themselves. And these high net worth individuals, they have families just like the rest of us, where they gather around dinner tables and have conversations. So we love being in there to save the day for these people. And it's just so exciting, so fun.
I love it. These are great stories. Gosh, the Napoleon table. Now I know how I'm teasing this video once I post it. Want to learn about Napoleon's table? Here we go. I love it.
Absolutely.
Okay, Tim, anything else that you want to add in there before we wrap it up?
Yeah, so I will tell you, we've done a lot of consulting with people around the country that have done high net worth sales. Even right now, our teams have been dispatched into Houston, and there are so many high net worth individuals. I will tell restoration companies that are interested in getting into that business, if you're someone who really specializes in customer service, it is a great segment to target. These are wonderful people, and we've loved working with them. The insurance carriers like Chubb, AIG, Pure, Cincinnati, NatGen Premier, and other high net worth insurance carriers, they're delivering a different level of experience that it makes me nostalgic for the way that insurance companies used to be, right? There are companies that, I won't drop, negative names here, but, where I used to say, like, these companies used to be such a pleasure to deal with. And this is the last place where it's still kind of okay to work with insurance companies. But even if you're not interested in high net worth and celebrity individuals, whoever your customer is, the more you know them, the more that you can speak to them. The more you know them, the better that you can serve them, right? If I think about the movie Groundhog Day a lot, it's such a perfect movie, right? And if you've never seen it, Bill Murray is playing this weatherman that wants Andy McDowell to fall in love with him. And over time, he learns all of these things about Andy McDowell. He learns that her favorite ice cream flavor is Rocky Road and that she studied French poetry in college because she must have loved student debt and irrelevant majors, right? No offense to French poetry majors, right? But he learned all of these things about her. And it wasn't until he could cater what he was like and really, really know her and be about her that she started to fall in love with him. If you want your customer to fall in love with you, with their wallet, of course, right?
Yeah.
If you want them to come to you and keep coming to you, you have to know them, right? What is their favorite ice cream flavor? When is their anniversary? When is their birthday? What do they like? What do they read? Read the same books, study the same things. If insurance restoration ever went away tomorrow, I would be an insurance broker probably the day after because I know so much at this point about what their business is like, that would be such a natural transition for me. Know your customer on that level, that even if your business went away tomorrow, you would become them. When you get to be that close with your customer, you can speak to them in a way that empowers you, that builds trust, that builds value, and makes your customers feel comfortable continuing to work with you time after time. That's the one thing we've learned from working with high net worth individuals, as well as don't look certain people in the eye. And I couldn't be more grateful for that lesson.
Perfect. All right, Tim. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much for your insight. I actually believe that we have the Nancy O'Dell case study on R&R's website. So I think that people can go read the case study, rnrmagonline.com. You can also check out other Ask the Expert videos and some past Marketing Minute videos from Tim and OP from a few years back if you want some other marketing tips from Tim and OP. So Tim, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. You too, Michelle.